Kyle Busch is gone. And I don't think NASCAR will ever be the same. On May 23rd, at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the same track where Kyle was supposed to be racing in the Coca-Cola 600, Bubba Wallace walked to the infield, got down on his knees, and stayed there. Silent. Head down. Over the number 8 that was painted into the ground in Kyle's honor. No cameras asked him to do that. No PR team set it up. That was just a man, broken, saying goodbye to his brother the only way he knew how in that moment. And that image, that moment, broke the entire racing world all over again. Now let me take you back just a little bit, because if you don't know the full story of how Kyle Busch died, you need to hear it. Because it wasn't a crash. It wasn't something that happened on the track. Kyle Busch, one of the most physically prepared, intense, focused competitors this sport has ever seen, died from something that started as a sinus cold. That's it. A sinus cold that he couldn't shake. For at least 11 days, Kyle had been dealing with congestion, a cough that wouldn't go away. He was training in a racing simulator. Doing what racers do, staying sharp, staying ready. And then things got worse. Fast. Severely worse. Because what nobody knew was that the pneumonia in his lungs had already begun to spiral. And when pneumonia progresses without being caught in time, it can turn into sepsis. Sepsis is when your body's response to infection begins to attack itself. It shuts down organs. It moves faster than most people realize. And in Kyle's case, his family confirmed in a statement released to The Athletic that severe pneumonia progressed into exactly that, sepsis, resulting in what they described as rapid and overwhelming associated complications. He was 41 years old. And just like that, NASCAR lost one of the greatest who ever lived. Now here's what I need you to understand about why this hit the way it did. Kyle Busch wasn't just a driver. He wasn't just stats and trophies, though those alone would make anyone a legend. This was a man who changed people. Who shaped careers. Who took drivers under his wing, pushed them, challenged them, and made them better whether they liked it or not. Bubba Wallace said it himself on Instagram. He said Kyle was a monumental factor in who Bubba Wallace is today. Think about that for a second. Bubba is a Cup Series race winner. A driver who has broken barriers in this sport. And he looked at everything around him, every accomplishment, every step forward, and said Kyle played a role in every single aspect of it. That's what hurts the most, he wrote. An icon and a legend that I looked up to, is no longer with us. He talked about the lessons Kyle taught him. Even on race day, mid-race, just last Sunday, Bubba said he thought about Kyle Busch. Heard his voice in his head. Is it loose? Drive through it and trust it. That's the kind of impact this man had. Not just in the shop, not just in the meeting rooms, but in the middle of battle, at 200 miles per hour, Kyle's words were still guiding his peers. Bubba also said he's going to miss his drafting buddy on the plate races. If you've ever watched superspeedway racing, you know that relationship is everything. The trust you put in the guy behind you, the guy beside you, that's life and death at those speeds. And Bubba trusted Kyle with that. Rest easy, my brother. Love to you and your family. That's how he ended it. And then there was the moment at Charlotte. Because words on Instagram are one thing. But walking to that infield, getting on your knees over that painted number 8, in front of everyone, at the very race Kyle was supposed to be competing in, that tells you everything about who Kyle Busch was to the people who knew him. NASCAR's statement called him a future Hall of Famer. They said he was a rare talent, one who comes along once in a generation. They used words like fierce, passionate, immensely skilled. They said he cared deeply about the sport and about the fans. And then the legends started speaking. Mario Andretti, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr. names that carry the entire weight of this sport's history. All of them stopping what they were doing to say, this one is different. This one hurts in a specific way that's hard to explain unless you understand what Kyle meant to racing. Because here's the thing about Kyle Busch that sometimes got lost in the noise. He was polarizing. Fans either loved him or loved to hate him. He had that villain energy on track that made him appointment television every single weekend. When Kyle Busch was in a race, something was going to happen. He was going to push. He was going to race every single lap like it was the last one he'd ever get. And now, in the most devastating way, we understand that energy differently. Every lap matters. Every moment on that track matters. Kyle raced like he knew that better than anyone. And maybe that's the legacy that transcends beyond the wins, beyond the championships, beyond the records. It's the reminder that the window is always smaller than we think. Bubba said it perfectly, Kyle's legacy will continue to transcend this sport for years to come. Not just because of what he won, but because of what he gave. To drivers, to crew chiefs, to mechanics, to fans sitting in the stands who watched a generational talent do things with a race car that made your jaw drop. The Busch family has asked for privacy and understanding during this time. And if you take nothing else from this, take that. Behind every driver number, behind every helmet, there is a family. There are people who love that person in a completely different way than we did as fans. And right now, that family is going through something no family should ever have to go through. Kyle Busch was supposed to be racing in the Coca-Cola 600. Instead, his number was painted in the infield. And Bubba Wallace was on his knees. If that doesn't tell you everything, I don't know what does.